Hey guys, Ryan Potter here with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Ambassador Real Estate. And I did have somebody make a comment on one of the previous videos, and he was asking about just kind of the getting started process with real estate. He's like, I really don't have a whole lot of knowledge on it. I don't know where to start. So maybe like a beginner's guide to real estate would be helpful. And so that's what I'm doing this video on today for you guys, and to answer some of those questions. So just to make things clear, when I'm dealing with first-time home buyers and when I'm dealing with buyers in general, I make it very clear to them that we're in no hurry to find anything. It might seem like that in a market like this when you've got the low inventory and things like that, but ultimately what we want to do is we want to do what's best for your interests and your needs and where you're comfortable. So what I tell people is typically when I start working with someone that's looking to buy a house, I'm usually working with them 3 to 18 months before we even make a move or write on a contract. And so with that being said, what I want to do is kind of help you understand kind of that process and what's involved with all that stuff. Typically, when somebody first contacts me, they get a referral or they've seen me on social media or whatever, or I've ran into them, or they can be a cold lead sometimes. And so what I do is I want to get in front of them, and that's kind of the overall main goal to begin with. First is you want to basically get a face-to-face, sit-down talk with your realtor. And if that's me, great. If that's with someone else that you know, that's awesome as well. But they can start pointing you in that right direction and helping you get started. The first thing that I would say is before you even start that whole process and as you begin to look online and things like that, is you want to know what you're approved for. So it never really helps if you're starting to look at houses that are $225,000 and you're approved for $150,000, right? So you want to make sure you know what that budgeted amount is for and what you can afford and what the bank is willing to lend you. So that's step one. You need to go get and meet with a lender and find out what you can be pre-approved for. If you don't know what types of lenders are out there or who to trust or anything like that, contact me. I can point you in that right direction. I work with numerous lenders. They're all really great. They're all reliable. They're trustworthy, and I know they'll take care of you because they know what I want for my clients, and so they want to give the same service to them and to you guys. So with that being said, step one, definitely figure out what you can get pre-approved for, and then you can start that sort of little process moving forward. So then we have kind of an amount and a price range in mind that we can start looking at. That's very important in today's market, especially here in Omaha right now, because we do have that low inventory. So you want to know what that price range is so we can go look when you're ready right away. Because what happens is a lot of these houses are on the market, especially in the price range of $100,000 to $200,000, anywhere in between there. Those houses aren't staying on the market very long. Typically they're staying 24 hours to 72 hours and they're gone. So what you want to do is you want to set yourself up for that process, and when you are ready to look and you are serious about buying, you're ready to roll as far as the financial standpoint. So if you do find something you like, you can write on it, we can move forward and we can get you that house. The second thing is I want to help you figure out what those hidden costs are. I call them hidden costs. Some people might call them something else, but to me, when I look back and when I first bought my home, I look back and I'm like, man, what would I have liked to known before I purchased this house, and what would I have liked to have thought about before getting in? And a couple things came to mind. I thought about hidden costs, so I think about taxes. How do taxes play into what I'm going to pay for a mortgage? As I go online and I can type in a mortgage calculator, $150,000 house, and it can bring up that, oh, my payment's going to be $700-800. Great. But then what I don't factor in is my taxes, my homeowner's insurance, and some of those other things, and now my mortgage is around $1,200, $1,300. So I want to help educate you on that. How do we do that? Well, we first get you pre-approved. Then we sit down, we figure out what area are you looking in. Is it Elkhorn? Is it Midtown? Is it downtown Omaha? Is it Bellevue? Is it Papillion? All those things are going to come into effect, and taxes are different in all those different areas. So what we would want to do is narrow down that search, and then we can kind of get an idea of what taxes are going to be in that price range, in that area that you're looking at, and that will help you kind of conclude where you're going to end up roughly for your mortgage payment. So that will hopefully help out too, as you know. Then you'll know what you can afford and what you can't. Along with that is there's homeowners insurance, there's closing costs. That was one major thing that kind of hit us, where we're like, okay, we're putting 5% down on this house, great. And so I'm thinking, okay, I come up with this $8,000, this $9,000 to put down, and then I get hit with, I also have to pay closing costs. So closing costs, sometimes can range from $2,500 to $8,000, depending on the price range, or even more. So what we want to do there is I want to educate you again on, okay, how much do we need to set aside for closing costs? Your lender should have a really good idea as what those closing costs should be, so that will help you out as well. So I always tell my clients, hey, when it comes to your closing costs, I can give you an estimated cost sheet that could basically roughly get you where you're gonna be, but sometimes they offer discounts, they offer special things. So I always tell them your lender is gonna be the one you wanna listen to when it comes to that, because they're gonna be able to get you down to the penny as far as what that closing cost is going to be when you come to the table when you close that day. So you might be putting 5-10% down, but then you might also have to come up with 4, 5, 6 or more thousand in closing costs. So we want to figure that out and know that, and if we need closing costs, we ask for that in the contract. MPPD or OPPD, MUD, internet, that type of stuff. You also want to bring that and keep that in the back of your mind, that hey, if you plan on having cable at your house, internet at your house, you're obviously going to heat and cool your house. You're going to have water at your house. So you want to kind of keep those in the back of your mind as you're going to purchase a house, that those are going to be additional costs and expenses that you're going to have when you go there. In some cases, you might be paying rent right now where those things are getting taken care of. And so that doesn't cross your mind to think about, it's going to be $110 for me to pay for internet this month, or it's going to be $150 for me to pay my MUD bill this month. That adds on to the costs. What you don't want to do when you're buying a house, especially I tell people when you're newly married or whatever the case is, you move into this house and you don't want to be strapped. You don't want to move into the house and figure out that you've got all these hidden costs and now you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're banking on that money coming in, and then you're like, oh crap, what do I do about this bill? Because I was totally unaware of that, and now where's that money going to come from? You don't want to strap yourself. So I can help you with that as we move forward as well. Another thing is, what's the current market like? What do you want to know about the current market? Right now in Omaha, we're in a seller's market. What that means is our inventory is low, and if you're a seller and you're listing your house, that means you're probably going to get list price or more because the demand is high. The supply is low. So they call that a seller's market, and that means that the seller, now is a good time to list your house, because you're going to get typically what you want for your house at list price or more. So that works in the favor of the seller, not necessarily in the favor of a buyer, which vice versa. If you're in a buyer's market, that means the demand is high, and so you have a ton of people that are willing to go, or the demand is low, you have a ton of people, buyers now that are out there, and there's a lot more houses on the market, and so that balances it out, and now you have the buyers have a lot more houses to choose from as opposed to like a low inventory. So just to give you an idea, typically we have about 5,500, 6,000 houses on the market in Omaha in this time in years past. Now we have about 1,900. So as you can tell, that inventory is low, so you want to keep that in mind. So yeah, once you're at that point and you're ready to go, whether if we started meeting 3 months ago, and we said, hey, it was a seller's market, then it could potentially turn into a buyer's market. So that fluctuates all the time. I've had clients where we start the process 18 months ago, and in that time it was a buyer's market, and now they're ready to buy and it's a seller's market. So we have to explain and go through those things of what to expect. And I can do that for you as we get to that point. The other thing that I want to hit on, and it's starting to become more real for us and for me and our family, and that's look at the big picture. When you're going to purchase a house, it's an investment, right? So you're no longer paying someone else's mortgage when you're renting, but now you're going to be paying your own, and you're going to be investing in your own property. There's a lot of good things that come from this, and as Vanessa and I talked, we like to look at all of the properties that we purchase as an investment property. And as we move forward into the future, what we'd like to do is we would like to purchase numerous properties and have them as investment properties, because we see that as an opportunity for us to have money in the long run, when we're 15, 20, 30 years down the road. If we can have 20, 30, 40 houses that we own that we're now renting out to somebody else that we previously lived in or just picked up and purchased because we got a good deal on it, that's a big picture where now I don't have to worry about my 401k, Social Security, stocks, and all that kind of stuff. I can actually have real estate that I've invested in, and now that becomes something that I know that money is always going to be coming in for me. So if something were to happen to me later on down the road, let's say 20 years from now, I get in an accident and I have 30, 40 properties that I have that are investment properties that I'm getting rent from, and I'm making $20,000 a month on that from rent, because, hopefully by that time they're paid off. I wouldn't have to worry about if I lost my job or taking care of my family, because I know I have that $20,000 to $30,000 a month coming in, and you can live off of that, right? And that's what we would all want to do. We'd all want to buy property and invest in it. So if you're one of those people that maybe you have some extra money sitting around and you don't know, I have $20,000, I have $30,000, $50,000, and you've had somebody whispering in your ear that, hey, you should invest that in stocks, you should invest that in this and this. I would argue that your best investment would be real estate. And I would love to sit down and talk to you about that and how that whole system works. And just where those properties are located in Omaha. They're all over the place. There are a ton of investors in Omaha because we have a great market for rental properties all over the place. So if that's something of interest to you, let me know. We can get together for coffee or lunch. I would love to talk to you more about that. I'm just in the beginning stages of it, and I am actually excited about our future as I look to possibly purchasing some investment property later on down the road and providing for my family that way as another avenue of income to come in. So if that interests you, let me know. We can discuss that. I could maybe do a YouTube video on that as well in a series, and I think that would be super helpful. But hopefully all of this information right now has kind of jump-started you in that process of what it looks like to begin the process of buying a house. I hope this has answered some of your questions that some of you may have been thinking. But if I haven't answered those questions, comment below, or PM me or text me or call me, and we can get together for lunch or coffee and we can discuss some of those questions. What I love to do is I love to invest in my clients. I love to take the time out and to educate them and to tell them what the market is like, and to tell them what to expect when they're going to sell their house or when they're going to buy their house or all these things. That's my job. I love doing it. I don't care if it's a Saturday, a Sunday, or anything like that. I get that question all the time, like, oh, I feel so sorry because the only time we can meet is Saturday, or the only time we can meet is Sunday. That's okay. That's my job. I do an open house with Ram Construction every weekend from 1 to 4 on Saturday and Sunday. I'm working Saturdays and Sundays. So I want to be available to you. So whenever you're available, if you have questions, concerns, suggestions, anything, please feel free to reach out to me. I love to just sit down and talk to you. I don't even care if you're not even interested in buying a property or listing a property anytime soon. Whatever I can do to help you better understand real estate and the market, I would love to do that. So give me the opportunity to do that. I would love that. I would love to meet your friends and family or coworkers or whoever it is that may like some more education and training and help and coaching on just real estate in general. I've even thought about putting together a class and having some people come out and maybe provide some appetizers and some drinks there, and having one of my lenders come and just talk about all that stuff so that you guys can be educated and you guys can get excited and not stressed out and not anything like that, or scared or fearful of real estate. It's actually one of the best things that you can invest in. So we would love the opportunity to do that for you. So yeah, thank you for tuning in for another one of our sessions. Thank you for commenting. And if you have more topics that you want me to discuss and go over, let me know. I'd be more than happy to do that for you. Thanks, guys. Take care.